Also live on YouTube. In this live, we're going to be talking about the importance of continuing education, especially if you're a spa professional. If you're new here, my name is Ayana. I'm a licensed massage therapist, esthetician, continuing education provider. I'm also the founder of SpaBizSuccess and also a spa owner. And so in this live, again, we're going to be talking about continuing education. I see Houston, welcome in. And if you're watching from the Facebook group, I'll be able to see your comments shortly. Just share where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, I love to see where you're watching from the replay. I see Arizona, welcome. And actually, let me tag my comment real quick. So let me just tag my comment on Instagram real quick before we dive into it. Share where you're watching from. And we're live on YouTube. Let me pin this real quick. I see NYC, welcome in. Let me pin that. Okay, we're all set. So we're going to be talking about continuing education and why this is so important. To be honest with you all, this is going to be a pretty quick live. We've been actually pretty consistent for the past couple weeks with these lives. I see Duluth, Minnesota. I see the Netherlands. Welcome. Welcome in. It's so cool to see where people are watching from. Dominica, awesome. You put your flags in there. I love that. All right, we're going to be talking about continuing education, and I'd even be interested to hear, those of you who are watching in different countries, how it works for you, especially if you are a body worker, massage therapist, esthetician, or any spa professional. What are the things that you need in order to do your continuing education? Is it really required for you? Do you need to do it? I'm really curious about that. It's very specific here in Florida. And I feel like this is right on time because the deadline for Florida is coming up in about less than 30 days. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you all, even mine aren't done yet. Like I'm 75% complete with my continuing education credits. I still got to get the laws and rules, the ethics, the medical errors, all that stuff. So I don't know if those are requirements in your states, but I'm working on it. Okay, so, and also a question that I have for you all who are watching, welcome in London, United Kingdom, welcome in. Those of you who are watching, I have a question for you. So I want to know, how long has this industry, how long have you been a body worker or spa professional? If you're in school, share that as well. Are you in school? I'd love to know how long you've been doing this. Just very, very curious. They say like our lifespan is about 7 years. So I want to know where you're at in that, which by the way we're changing that. We're changing the lifespan over here. So, okay. So one of the first things that I want to bring up, especially as y'all answer that question and share where you're watching from, one of the first things I want to bring up is that continuing education can really expose you to new techniques and modalities. I see LMT for 6 years. That's awesome. So you're right there at the lifespan. But yeah, everyone share how long have you been in this industry and also share where you're watching from. But yeah, so continuing education exposes you to new techniques and modalities. So I think this is especially important when you are a new massage therapist or a new body worker, new spa professional, to be exposed to so many different modalities, or at least have an option where you can choose what modality you're interested in. Because that's how you start to understand what your passion is. When you explore and experiment with different modalities, you can start to understand what is your niche. I see naturally gifted for 40 years. That's incredible. Enrolling January 2024. Congratulations. I see some new students. I see 8 months, 2 years. Wow, I see Michigan, 8 years. Okay, so you're past the lifespan. I put air quotes because I'm trying to teach you all ways to where you don't have to have a lifespan in your career. All right, so I want you to expose yourself to new techniques and modalities, especially if you're asking yourself, what is your purpose? Like, what is your purpose in this career of yours? Because we all know it's deeper than body work. you might gravitate towards a specific type of body work that you feel called to do. If you feel like you want to share what that is, put that in the comments below. I'd love to shout that out, what you feel called to do. But there's so many things out there. I know when I first started, the continuing education courses that I would take was geared towards like medical massage. I would do, and I forget the name of the company, but I would do the courses that would lead to, they had like sequential courses that you could do so that you can become a medical body worker. And that was my interest in the beginning. I also had a strong interest in prenatal massage as well when I first started. And that mostly came from my experience working at a spa, where I was fortunate enough to have quite natal clients. So having that experience was great for me. I realized it's not really my passion, and that my passion is manual lymphatic drainage, which I'll talk a lot more about on this channel in our upcoming lives. But I think this kind of sets the stage for that, talking about continuing education. So that's my first point, is that continuing education is an opportunity for you to explore a type of body work that you're curious about, because you never know. Like, once you get that information, you can ask yourself, is this something to teach? Is this something that I could, be the hidden gem in my city for, or be the go-to in my city for? Those are all questions that you can ask yourself to figure out if it really is your passion. And so the second thing that I want to mention that I don't see anyone else talking about enough when it comes to our industry is continuing education, especially when you do the live courses, even some of the online courses, the online webinars. It can really expose you to networking opportunities. I would recommend, especially if you're in the beginning of your practice. I see some students or some pre-students, people who are going into school in this chat right now, which is amazing, by the way. If that's the case, I highly recommend that you are doing in-person classes, getting that hands-on technique, because that gives you an opportunity to learn with other people and also network with other people. Something that's really important, especially in the beginning of your practice, is trying to build a referral network. People who can refer you when you start your business or have your business for the type of massage that you like to do, and you can refer other people. There's a lot of ways that you can even get paid to do that, to promote another massage therapist. And that's where you're not competition, but you're in community with each other. So community over competition. So I highly recommend being able to network in these group classes. And what's great about that, if you take a class together, more than likely you align on other things too. If you end up in the same class together, that's a good starting point to have conversations and network and learn what everyone does. Like, don't be afraid to ask those questions like I've been afraid to ask. And I know that's difficult for introverts. It's very difficult. Starting off deep tissue is not my favorite, but has become my favorite and most skilled. And that is a skill that a lot of massage therapists don't have. So if you have that, that means you're gifted in that. So thanks for sharing that. Let's see. I focus on women and helping them realize the emotion and spiritual effects of stress on their bodies and empowering them to prioritize their self-care and be their authentic self. I love that statement. It really feels like a mission statement. And you can tell it's deeper than body work. It sounds like you're working with, their emotions, like the things that you can't see, the intangible. So thanks for sharing that. And you said you've been in this 8 years. I love that. But yes, I feel like there are likely continuing education programs out there for people who also specialize in that, specialize in the emotional aspects. When it comes to continuing education, it doesn't have to be technique based. It could really be helping people through certain traumas, becoming trauma informed therapists. There's so many different pieces of this that you can create through getting continuing education. So that's something I recommend. And there's a lot of courses out there that even help you with, like, just even talking to clients, like talking with clients, your intake process, body assessment, gait assessment, like so many different things like that, energy assessment. If you know that you struggle in those things, then I highly recommend like furthering your knowledge on that. And I don't want you to tie your education to just getting your credits. Take courses that may not even require credits or may not even have credits. Like anything that helps your professional development, I feel like is a win for your career and an investment in your career. And I think it's a tax write-off too. So that's another thing. So yeah, establish that referral network when you are doing these continuing education courses. I just highly recommend that. Try to find yourself in spaces where there are other body workers, other people who understand the industry. So I highly recommend that. The next part, I mean, this is the most obvious, but continuing education helps you keep your license. You want to make sure that you're up to date with all the licensing in your state, all the regulations in your state. I get a lot of questions about, how do I, be a part of the spa industry, things like that. And I would just recommend looking at what is required in your state, checking with your board. For me, it's going to be the Board of Massage here in Florida. It's also going to be the Department of Business here because I'm also an esthetician. So it's going to be the Department of Health. And for you, it might be the Department of Health. Just make sure that you're always up to date with whatever they are requiring you every year. So here in Florida, it's every 2 years. And again, we have less than 30 days to get our requirements in. And one of those pieces is to have the continuing education. And I think the reason why the Board of Massage has done that is to make sure that we're all not being stagnant, that we're still constantly learning, that we still, of course, there's like the main requirements like medical errors and what they added, like, what else is there? Laws and rules, things like that. But they just want to make sure people are within their scope of practice. And I have a very unique perspective on this because my instructor actually used to be on the Board of Massage. So I think that's interesting. So we used to listen into like case hearings of people who weren't within their scope, people who were breaking the rules, people who were breaking the law, because y'all have noticed that a lot of our industry has become tainted with what people think that this is. And we don't even have to go into much detail. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We want to make sure that, our community stays as reputable as possible and trustworthy as possible. So make sure that you're staying up to date with these continuing education credits. For some of you, this might even be a reminder that, some of our requirements are due. Gregory says, I went to Augusta, Florida, School of Massage for a workshop to be through skills, but instead I was the one teaching. Interesting. So that means you were, that's really cool. But yeah, I would just recommend like thinking about it more than just a requirement. Continuing education is not just a requirement, it's an opportunity to network. It's an opportunity to expose yourself to new techniques and techniques that will bolster your career in the long run. It's an opportunity for professional development. That's one of my values is, constantly not only personally develop yourself as a person, but as a business person too, or as a person who is a professional. So that's really important. And then lastly, it just helps you keep your license. There are quite a few unlicensed folks around here, and it's kind of sad because it doesn't do the best for our industry when we have a lot of unlicensed people doing unlicensed things. That's something I don't condone. So again, if you are curious about what is required, just look with your state, look with your board, do all of that if you need to. Again, if you end up watching the replay, definitely comment below and share one of your takeaways. But I want to know, what are some of the courses that y'all have taken when it comes to your CEs? I'd be really, really curious to know what type of courses y'all have taken when it comes to your CEs. And something that I'm going to do in the description box of this YouTube video and also in the link in my bio on Instagram, if you are watching this on Instagram, I am going to be putting a link to a waitlist where you can learn from me because I am a continuing education provider and I can help you get those credits, especially when it comes to MLD, which is manual lymphatic drainage. So if you are interested in learning manual lymphatic drainage from me for 18 continuing education credits, then you'll want to click that link in my bio to be on the wait list because that is coming out sooner than you think. So something to think about. I see Virginia attending an MLD certification class next week in Charleston. That's going to be exciting. And I love that some of you are traveling for these continuing education credits. I think that's really good. And so over the course of your career, regardless of, how much education is required, every 2 years, every 3 years, whatever it is in your state, it's going to be different state to state. I recommend just trying to find things that really just add the building blocks of your career. So if you want to, let's say, specialize in prenatal massage, take a postnatal course, take a prenatal course. Maybe even take a course that is specific to people who maybe suffer from trauma from childbirth, things like that. Like there's so many different ways that you can help your career and just help the different aspects of your career just by getting that education. And not only that, but now this live was a little bit short. I know next live, we'll be talking about something a little bit more in depth. And I still wanted to come on here, say hello, see where everyone's watching from. Got people around the world on this live. That's incredible, especially here on YouTube. And of course, if there's any type of content that you want to see, don't hesitate to send that DM and I will see that. Because I love seeing what type of content you all need, especially in this year of building your businesses and getting licensed, going to school, and doing everything that you need to do to change your career. Yes. All right. So next Tuesday, we are going to be live again. Sign up for that waitlist. It's going to be in the link in my bio. And I definitely appreciate each and every one of you who came onto this live, even though it was a little bit shorter than usual. It's always a pleasure to be on here and talk with you all, see who's watching, just hear the things that you're working on and have that conversation with you all. But again, if you watch the replay, go ahead and comment any takeaways or where you were watching from. And I will see y'all next week in our next live. Bye.